righty. Let's see how this goes. Yeah, hopefully this will be a little bit better for everyone. Fingers crossed anyway. Hello, Ant Games. Hello, how are we doing? I did see your message in the last one. I was trying to get through everything. I do apologize, but yeah, thanks for the heads up about that, Dan. I had absolutely zero idea that was a thing. So, yeah, let me know if this is any better. It's tricky. Like, it's tricky. I mean, it's showing an excellent connection and that kind of stuff. So hopefully my internet can handle this. Does not support closed caption 4K resolutions. Yeah, that's fine. I set it to ultra low just because, you know, let's go to the other end of the spectrum. Try sending something in chat. Let's do a little test. So there we go. A little test. How is that in there? Okay, wait. I'll consume a bit of banana bread. About 3 seconds. Okay. That is much, much better. And is the actual stream quality itself okay still? Is it lagging? Is there any drop frames or anything like that? Much better. Hell yeah. I don't notice the difference. Nice. Lucky we have you about, isn't it? Jesus. Me eating banana bread is going to be the most entertaining thing in this stream, just for context. I absolutely love this stuff. My partner makes it every now and again. And it's very quickly become one of my favorite things to eat. She's got headphones on, so she can't hear the fact that I'm tooting her horn. But no, you heard nothing. You watched nothing. I wasn't praising you. What? What?
You said you don't want to toot my horn.
I don't want to toot your horn.
Yeah, that's all I heard.
Oh, good.
About what?
I was saying your banana bread is fantastic.
My ego just left the room.
Exactly, that's why I didn't want you to hear. Her ego is gone. She's broken the sound barrier with how fast her ego is growing. Previous to the delay was about 20 seconds, which is going to make talking much easier. Yeah, so that should make a huge difference. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. But yeah, and games, I'm doing pretty good. I thought I'd do a bit of a spontaneous stream today. Ooh, actually, think about that. Going to my old stream. Did I really link when I promoted this? Did I link to the old one? Oh, I'm gonna have to send out a brand new thing, aren't I? Right, because I put a Discord announcement out for this stream. Oh no, I'm gonna have to put a new one in. Or can I edit that one really quickly? Oh, I completely forgot about that. Oh dear. I'll just edit the old one. As per, I'm not expecting like a massive amount of people to be joining, but if anyone does come along, sending them to the right place is probably a good place to start, you know? There we go. Just update that. Oh, did I just... Okay, I think that's fine. I'm such a professional at this, oh my goodness. I'm so good. I'm so good at streaming, I make zero mistakes. That's a lie, I'm making so many mistakes. So yeah, the plan today is essentially the same plan as last time, but hopefully we'll actually get some of the plan executed. So we're going to do some level design, and remember this was 3 hours of completion last time, so we're hoping for a little bit more than that. Anyway, so it's a case of let's try and figure this out. So currently we have, how many is it? We have 2 scenes effectively. These 2, which do in fact correlate to these 2 rooms here. Crazy stuff. And now I've just got to figure out what the rest of the world is going to look like. So nothing small. This is for the time being. I'm just going to be kind of looking at adding in the first kind of level. So this kind of forested area. Which, speaking of, I need to make it such that this is in Dawn. There we go. So if I quickly just remove this scene, load this one, this should load up in the correct time of day, then we should be good to go. There we are. And if we come in and we just set this to... Tell I want to open this one. I've got OCD, so I just really want to make sure that everything looks right when I'm connecting it all together. Because I'm a stickler for that kind of stuff. Just a little bit of a stickler. Where are we? This. So I need to open up my prefabs folder. It'll be on the setup. Lights. Day-night cycle. There we go. And scene 2. We'll make this the default, and then we'll make that one. No, I didn't want to add it as a thing. I wanted it to be that. So if I just delete that actually, and I add that in there. Oh no, it's actually, I'm so silly. This just changes the color of lights. It doesn't actually update them. So I need to come into lights in scene 1. Midground light, there we go. This is what I need to update. So I need to pop this out. Properties. There we go. And then we're going to copy the codes for this. It's just FFFFF. Yeah. Transparency, that's all looking correct. Background. That's where things start to look different. There we go. So if we set this to that, and the transparency was more like there, wasn't it? I mean, this all updates naturally anyway, but it just makes it a little bit more, makes it look like it actually crosses over a little bit better. When we actually are just looking at it from this view. If every day is like looking kind of the same, and that needs to be up here for the most part as well. There. Now see, those don't look the same. Why don't these look the same? Is it going to be to do with fog or something? Why are these two differently? Why are these two different? Let's have a look. Tell you what, instead of looking at the actual day-night cycle stuff, let's just compare the lights here. So we've got this. Mid. Okay, so it actually should be this. In fact, can I just do this? Let's just create a bunch of clones, because I don't know which one of these apply to what. So we'll get the background far. Add that in. Okay, then if we come to the midground, we should be able to just select these. So this was that. This goes to here, and this goes to this. That looks better. Yeah, they actually look kind of the same now, for the most part. I think the differences is going to be with like the different fog layers and such. So if we come into these level, environment, level, I need to add these into the environment actually. In fact, let me do that real quick. Interactable. These are all interactable objects, so they can just be dropped into that. Environment, we'll close down objects. And what have we got? What have we got? We have... I need to remember where everything is. It's been a good week or so since I've done any actual game dev. In fact, real quick, let me just update something as well. Something's just come to mind that I should be double checking. How the wishlist going? That is a very good question. It's one I need to double check. I've not checked in a while. I think we're around 750-ish, 750, 800. I've not been doing any active promotion. I've been really, really bad with it. I need to start getting it. I need to build a bit of a routine together. I've been working on a bit of a Notion page so I can start building that up a little bit. I just haven't got around to actually sitting down and doing it. That's going to be my job for this week. Because I do want to get a bit more organized, get a bit of a routine, get a calendar, get some templates together so I can just be copying and pasting and just get those like those posts out on a bit of a routine. Just mostly on Twitter, because most of them actually come from Twitter, because you're actually able to share the link directly, which is a bit different from Instagram. On Instagram, it's a little bit tricky, because you have to direct people to your bio. You have to click on the bio, then from the bio that takes you to the wish list, then from the wish list you have to click wish list. It's too many steps. Most people won't be bothered, but at least on Twitch, you just click, you see the post, you click the link, you click wish list, and it's done. So it's a lot more efficient. So yeah, I need to work on this. Issues. There we go. Okay. So let's check it. Let's check it right now. Steamworks. I don't think I'm actually allowed to show you a lot of the stuff on this. I don't know what the regulations are for Steamworks. I'm just going to keep it off screen for the time being. I need to properly look into that. But for the most part, I'm not 100% sure if I'm technically allowed to show you stuff. It should be fine, right? But I don't want to take any chances until I know for sure what I can and can't show. Because I know there are some regulations behind that. That is more than I thought. We're on 867 wish lists. So we've got casually like 100 more than I thought we would. That's pretty cool. That's pretty sick. Pushing 1,000. If I get a bit of promotion done on that, and I start actually doing my job as a YouTuber and a content creator, we could actually get that up to 1,000 soonish. Hello, hello. Like Terran, how are you doing? How are you doing? Everyone's joining back. Everybody, hello. Sorry about the issues with the last stream. Yeah, we had some latency issues, but thankfully our Lord and Savior Dynam came in clutch and gave us a little TLDR on how to actually fix that. Turns out it was checking a different button. But here we are. We've learned. We'll know for next time. But yeah, 867 wish lists. That's pretty dope. I am very, very happy with that. I didn't think that was the case at all. Surely I can just do this. Yeah, there we go. That would have been the easy thing to do, wouldn't it? So this is on close, far, and these are the cave ones. Okay. This one we have close, far, and far. So we've got multiple far fogs, which we don't need. Let's delete you. So we've got the far one, which is on order layer trainer, far, order layer 20. That all looks the same, right? For the most, minus the differences in y-axis and such. In fact, this was on -2, so let's just set this to 0 as well, just for consistency's sake. Come on, like here, this is on -2, this is on background close, so this should be on background close there, yeah. And again, that's on -2, that's on -2. Alright, so these should look relatively similar now. I think for the most part they do. This one's obviously a little bit brighter up here, just because we don't have the, this is lower down, but I think that looks about right. So if I remove this real quick, save those changes, when we transition between these two scenes, they should look the same. I'm back from a little while. I was gone and not really active. I know, I was wondering where you had gone. I saw you were working on some little projects yourself, weren't you? It was some kind of vehicle, if I'm not mistaken. I remember seeing you post some stuff about that. How things been? What's new? Yeah, they look the same. That's what we like to see. Happy days. Because yeah, last time I've been working a little bit on the day-night cycle thing, and yeah, it's. Oh, what was that? There we go. Let's do a little dash. There we go. Yeah, the fog looks a bit different, and I need to do some little nitty-gritty bits on that. But that's gonna be stuff to do off the stream, away from the stream, while I'm not, because that's like. I feel like it's not very entertaining for you guys to just watch me like move little bits around and make little tiny bits things. Well, day and night cycle, how much a time in a day and night? That is to be determined. It will depend on kind of how I want it to function fundamentally, which could be a little bit tricky, to be honest. Because I need to figure out if things are going to function Oh, that's why that's like that. Mid-ground front. Let's just set that to like, I don't know, 100. So that's always in the front. That's why these are not working. Here we go. Mid-ground front. So that's like 100. And then you need to be on mid-ground front. 100. You need to be on the same. There we go. That's why all this was looking groovy. Looking groovy. Yeah, with the day-night cycle, it's going to very much depend on a few different things. Is it such that we want it kind of like Minecraft, where it's one of those instances where time will just naturally pass according to kind of like the time. I can link it to the time on your desktop. So it's like, if you play in the evening, it'll be more in the evening, or if you play at night, or if you play it in the morning, it'll be more dawn. Or do I want to make it such that every 20 minutes is a day-night cycle? So a day maybe lasts for 20 minutes, transitions to dawn, and so it's like every hour. Do I want it such that when you move between different rooms, time progresses? One thing I do know for sure is you are going to be able to select the time of day that you want to play at a campsite. I'm going to have kind of bonfires, so it's going to be kind of like Souls themed. So there will be there'll be bonfires here. Why is this not letting me? Are there certain gizmos off? Why is... Does anyone know what's going on here? I can't see my indicator. Checkpoint? Yeah, that should be... Oh, wow. Why is it making me select that? That's crazy. Oh, it's because I've attached the tent to the... Never mind, I'm an idiot. But even still, this isn't showing the inputs. Does anyone else fix that? If anyone's here. That's so strange. Does it work when I go into the scene too? Let's save that. If I go here and let's grab, like, I don't know, the player. Oh, it's working for this one. Oh, but it's not shown on this. Again, why? Why is that? It's showing on some things, but not everything. That's kind of crazy. I have no idea why that is. I guess it's not so much of an issue right now if it's only the... Yeah, it only seems to be the tent. I don't know. That's an issue for another day. I'll figure that out at some point. Yeah, the day is usually 12 days. In a usual game, it usually lasts 12 minutes during the day and 12 at night. Yeah, so I might transition it ever so slightly because we do have... We've got 3 stages actually. We've got dawn, day, and night, so it's actually 3 different ones. So if I set the stage duration to, I mean, just for proof of concept, so I can kind of showcase it and how it kind of transitions, we'll set it so it's like 1 second. It sticks on something for like 3 seconds and then transitions for 3 seconds. Let's go with that, so it can kind of showcase it a little bit. What about dusk? See, I was going to do dusk, however, dusk, there you can see it kind of transitions a little bit. So we've got the day, which is the green. We've got night, which is these blacks and blues. I'm going to make it such that the lamps actually turn off at the different times of day. Transitions from night to dusk, which is more of this like autumnal orange. And then from this, it'll turn to the green again. The reason I didn't put a dusk in is, well, 2 reasons. First of all, rules of 3s. It's better to have like 3 of any given thing. It just feels nicer for the most part. So we've got dawn, dusk, and day. And I hate my mic. We've got dawn, day, and night. Just rolls off the tongue a little bit easier. Also, the fact that dusk and dawn for the most part would be the same. So you're actually you find yourself in a situation where 50% of the game is actually spent in this kind of autumnal, those oranges, and then 25% of the game is spent in day, 25% of the game is spent at night. So having it just with those 3 and having day just automatically transition to night, just makes it so everything's a bit more balanced with regards to what goes where and what you actually see throughout the progression of the day. But also, having day transition to night is a lot more of a stark contrast, so it really emphasizes the difference. you know? Like, it goes from day, which is really nice, happy, joyful, to night, and it's like, scary, dark. What do I do? So there's those kind of reasons. But also, if you set it so the transition's a bit higher, it fades into them a lot more smoothly. So it's kind of like the day-night cycle and Don't Starve. Yeah, pretty much, except for the fact that instead of dawn being like a tiny fraction of it, it lasts a lot longer. Because if I am correct, Don't Starve has a pretty short dawn kind of time period, doesn't it? Don't Starve block. Yeah, the day lasts for about like 60% of the day, doesn't it? About 25% of the day for dusk, and then night's pretty short. Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty much that exactly, except for the fact that everything is pretty identical in length. Instead, must say, the transition from day to night, I really like it. Whoa. I need to stop hitting this. I think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool indeed. So yeah, it also makes things a little bit easier because there are going to be certain interactions depending on the different time of day that you're in anyway, as mentioned in the last devlog. So having an even split of everything makes things a little bit easier to balance in that regard as well. But as I mentioned, you're always going to be able to come to one of these campsites. There'll be a campfire of sorts, and you'll be able to update it. So if you want to be in a certain time zone, you can be, and you can just set it. So if you wanted to always play in night, you can always play in night, and go from that. Go from there. I could also add a little feature where if you don't want time to progress unless you physically change it yourself, I might add an option for that. So if you always play at nighttime, you can just tick that box. There is also an argument potentially for the time of day essentially stipulating a difficulty mode. So naturally in games like Hollow Knight and such, you've got the standard difficulty and then you've got Steel Soul, so it's one or the other. It could be interesting to have some kind of actual difficulty in this. So you've got the easy, which is more or less story mode, where everything is played during the day. So there might be a couple less monsters, or the monsters that are there have a little bit less health, and maybe some of the bosses have one less attack, or something like that. So you're able to play through the story, through the narrative a bit easier. And then the normal difficulty could be at dawn, because I mean that's the whole visual appeal that we had for the demo in the beginning. So that could be interesting. Play the whole game looking like this. Granted, you've got to remember as well that there are going to be a lot of indoor and underground areas in Amber's Tale as well. So the day-night cycle isn't going to affect everything from a visual standpoint. It's not always going to be looking different. And then night obviously being the hard mode. More enemies, harder enemies, more health, that kind of stuff, more different attack patterns. That would be a lot more work, but it's an option. I think it's an interesting option. But we'd have to see. I'd have to see. It depends what direction the game goes in. And just general feedback from there was just general feedback from playtesting and such. In the demo, there's a lot of speedrunning, and it kind of died. To be fair, the demo kind of died. It did what I expected it to do. I wouldn't expect many people to keep playing it. There were like 3 or 4 people that did some speedrunning, but there's a limit, you know? I mean, the demo itself wasn't that great, I'm not gonna lie. Like, there was one boss, you could jump straight to it, and it was a pretty easy boss at that once you kind of got the attack patterns down. There was only one upgrade, which you didn't need to beat the boss, and you didn't need to get to the boss, so I'm not surprised that the speedrunning died, because it did what I expected it to. The demo was there to supplement the Kickstarter. It did exactly that. It got quite a lot of wishlist when we did the Kickstarter. It served its purpose. So I'm not surprised. It'd be cool though if I do release another demo pretty soon, obviously with these new visual updates, with the new skill tree system, the ability to actually have multiple abilities when you fight the different bosses. It's there's a lot of options. There's an awful lot of options. I think the next demo should be a big improvement from the last one. And it'd be cool to bring that speedrunning stuff back again, I must say. I'm currently working on Death Ink. I've just finished drawing a file cabinet. It took me 5 hours. Oh my goodness. Mood. Such a mood. The game is never going to get finished. Honestly. That's literally me, man. That is literally me. If you want, I can put you in touch with my artist as well, Hannah. She's been doing a lot of pixel art stuff. And she's been working with a bunch of other game developers as well, doing like little bits of work. And yeah, she's been doing little bits for me, such as just like the odd ferns and the backgrounds and getting these posts and things like that in. So I mean, if you need help with making a few little bits and bobs here, you know, she could be pretty indispensable. I know she's an absolute lifesaver for me. She saves me so much time. Like, to make something like this, it's a fern. It's a small little fern. This would take me probably about an hour, and it wouldn't look this good. Like, I can drag and drop these bits in myself, and I can use the resources, but no, Hannah is absolutely indispensable. So if you want, I can give you the details, and I'm sure she'd be more than happy to do some bits when she has some time. Because she's been learning pixel art, and I think she could definitely pull off some cool file cabinet like stuff, all the different office supplies, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the story of my life, art taking forever. I mean, exhibit. Do we have to recall what happened in the last stream? I need to do some work. All right, let me get a thing. I'm honestly scared to get used. I'm honestly scared I'll get used to it. And nothing will look good enough anymore. Yeah, because you end up in that kind of dev pit of like, okay, I've made this thing. You do some work, and then you do a little bit more work on other aspects of the game. You come back and you're like, this file cabinet doesn't look good anymore. I want to redo everything. Or like that time that you changed the color of the floor and things like that. You know, you'll just end up changing it constantly, and you'll never be happy. Because I'm kind of in that same thing. And like after redoing all my stuff, like even my old scenes, right? This happens when I go, because I just remade everything, so nothing works now. Nothing works. This is like one of the old scenes that I was in. It's just like, no, you're not allowed to work. No, we don't let you anymore. And I don't want to go back to doing all that stuff again. I've changed the enemy design for my game like 5 times. It's the same, honestly. I think in my first devlog, these ones didn't technically exist. But in one of my earlier devlogs, I had these. They just ran at you constantly. The foxes haven't changed much, to be fair. I've changed how they work, like the actual code itself. I've refactored this multiple times. But I think I'm kind of happy with the state that they're in at this point, so I shouldn't have to refactor or like change these anymore. And I'm also in a situation where I can just kind of change the sprites and things for this now if I really want to. So fingers crossed. Like if I make, for example, I've got the fox for the forest, but let's say I want an enemy with the exact same functionality, exactly the same, but it doesn't look like a fox. All I have to do is just change the actual animated controller. That should be it. Make a brand new prefab, change the animated controller, switch out the animations, and that should be it. Naturally, I can change the actual things like the move speed, all that kind of jazz, but yeah, stuff shouldn't be as much of a problem going forward at the very least, but we'll see. I'll most likely end up doing the complete U-turn on everything I've just said. I need to refactor this a little bit, actually, come to think of it. Because I've gone for this kind of situation now where I've got everything kind of as modular bits, so I can just kind of have different data scripts rather than dumping everything into a single thing. Which makes life a little bit harder. But we'll see. I mean, this isn't bad. It technically doesn't need to be reworked, but like for my own sanity, just so everything kind of works similarly, I think I probably will do. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. This is probably quicker. I mean, in theory, this doesn't need to happen. I don't know. I'm going to revisit enemies at some point in the future. Because basically, next time I need to make an enemy, that's when it's going to happen. And we'll just go from there. But for the time being, level design. Hell yeah. I figured it out. Ah, sick. Yeah, one of the programmers I used to work with on a different game has figured some stuff out. Hell yeah. Yeah, honestly, like I was gonna help them out with some bits on a game that we used to work with, but I've still got the game, but I can't remember half the stuff that I did, because I did a bunch of work with shaders in that test project. It was a completely different, like, Vampire Survivors like game. But for the life of me, I can't figure out a lot of the stuff that I used to do in there. It's crazy. Alrighty, but let's get some stuff going on here. So let's create a new layer, and we'll call this the key. Not the cookie, just the key. Just the key. There we go. So anything for the player, let's have like this layer. That should probably be in white, though, just for consistency's sake. Let's go for that. Layer. And then what else do we have? We have this grey, which is going to be like a starting zone. Or a hidden room. That's what that's going to be. So we'll come in here. We'll do that. Hidden room. What else have we got to do for this? We have... Oh, that's off. That is not aligned. That can't happen. There we go. Naturally, we do have the white, which is just... I mean, this should probably go up here, right? Which is just room bounds. As such. Should I go like that? Like that? There we go. How long do you plan to keep the stream going? I don't really have a plan, to be honest. I was planning to probably go for at least a couple of hours. Just get a bit of engagement going, have a bit of a chat with everyone. See if we can get some work done. But I'll most likely be going for another hour or two, hour and a half. See how it goes, because I've got dinner in the oven. It's a slow cook. It's a slow cook situation. I've got some leftover beef because I did a bit of a roast dinner, or a Christmas roast, an early Christmas roast a couple days ago. So I've got some leftover beef, so I'm just kind of slow cooking that in the Dutch oven at the moment. It's basically until I get tired. Or everyone leaves me. I feel sad and alone. That's also an option. But we'll see. What else do I need? Skill points. Skill points are going to be a thing that are going to be needed to be indicated. Skill points. Places where you can essentially find your skills that you can use to upgrade in the skill tree. So you need to indicate where they need to go, so it's easy enough to find those things. Have you already started programming the map? Ish. Fundamentally, like the actual map itself, no. I've kind of planned out how I'm going to go about doing it in some design document stuff. And I've somewhat figured out the UI as to how that's going to go. So I've got all my canvases down here. So I've got the two different kind of UI menus. I've got the pause menu, which is this thing, this beautiful thing right here. This I need to fix. There's a bit of an issue with this this white box. It's not going to be there. But I've got the pause menu, and then I've got the feature menu, which for now just shows the skill tree. However, within that, I've got multiple canvases, so that needs to be... Oh, that's the pause menu. That's why it's not showing. Feature menu. So I've got the skill tree, background, and the kind of selector. I'm going to have multiple different pages within this. So I've got the skill tree. I'll have the map. I'll have I don't know, an achievement page, all that kind of stuff. And I'm basically going to have it such that it'll activate and deactivate these different ones with a bit of an animation, so it looks like they're swiping side to side. I haven't figured that kind of nitty-gritty stuff out. But the feature menu is set up in such a way that I can just toggle these on and off, depending on what kind of thing I want to be active. So when I do actually like load up the skill tree, for example, I can deactivate this. The background's still there, the selector's still there. I can move it so we're on the map, and that box automatically resizes itself depending on what it's looking at. So if I bring this up, you can see that when it gets to the skills, it actually resizes and becomes bigger. So it'll center onto the player, maybe able to move around the map, select different teleportation points and things like that. But I've got a bit of an idea as to how I'm going to do it, but I do know it's going to be technically pretty tricky. Is it a difficult task for you? I think it is going to be a bit of a tricky one. I'm going into it as planned as I possibly can be, but I do think it's something that's going to take me at least... let's put it this way, I'm setting aside 2 weeks to figure it out. I'm setting aside 2 weeks to figure out how to make the map. If I'm quicker than that, great. I'm not too sure I will be, but that's where I'm at. Because it's just going to be one of the... It's going to be an awkward thing to make. Because essentially, I mean, the plan of action for that is... So I'm going to have the different map segments. So we've got these two here that are going on, right? Well, let's say... Oh, dear. Let's say we have another one down here, this big map bit. And then a thing here. The map for Amber's Tale, I do want to function kind of similarly to Amber's Tale. To Hollow Knight, in the way that let's say you get to here and there's a bit of a vendor, you know, this guy comes over, you go to him, you speak, you pay a little something or other, or maybe he gives you the first one for free, and it shows you the outline of the next few maps. So these will actually all be grey. Grey. Let me just completely undo all this. Can I make this bigger? 10 point. Well, that's not very good. So these will all turn grey. There we go, like that. So you'll have the different rooms, and then when you venture into them, they'll update and become white. Okay, I think that's kind of how I want it to function. Or, so that should, yeah. White. There we go. So you go into this room, it'll turn white. You go up into this one, it'll turn white. So essentially I'm going to need multiple sprites. I'm going to need the actual block out, which is going to have like all the detailing stuff on the map itself. Blah, 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 blah. I'm going to need a grey version, which is literally just going to show the room without any detailing or anything. It just shows where the room is essentially in relation to everything else. What else would I need for that, actually? I think that's actually all I would need, right? I mean, there is an argument to say that I could have, like, an intermediary step. So here, we could actually have, like, a outline detailed one somewhat. That's still kind of, like, hand-drawn-ish. So you enter the... You know where the room is. You enter it. It'll show you kind of a bit more of the detail once you've explored it. And then once you go to a campfire, kind of like in Hollow Knight, once you go to a bench, it'll lock it in place, kind of thing, and it'll become a lot more streamlined. So essentially, let's say I do it this way. Let's say I'm doing this. That just turned into a happy face. Some guy wearing goggles, as you do. I'd essentially need to have some kind of array for all the different pieces. So there's some parts of the map that'll detect whether you visited it or whether you visited it or not. Visited. You'd also need something for whether it's been explored. I mean, that's kind of the same. Or whether it's been what's the word I'm looking for? Whether it's been detected, I guess. So if like an NPC has given it to you, detected. and then drawn or completed, like that. So I'll be dropping and assigning each of these different things, and then basically just ticking and unticking them. Basically making it such that it'll go down the row and basically revisit it depending on certain conditions. And I think I'd essentially just add specific coordinates and lock every single one of these will be a child of. Let's say we have this for the zone. We've got. Right, I'll go down here. Let's say this is the everything, all the different map components for the forest area, right? Nope. And then this, I wanted to paint that in red. And then this is the game object for all the like cave areas, let's say, like that. I'll have like a parent object that will hold all the different map components as children. I'll be able to actually change what the sprite renderer actually renders depending on whether any of these conditions have been met. And it basically means I can also just move the entire segments around. So if I did want to have that kind of effect, like in Hollow Knight, where you zoom out and you see you have the different maps kind of like merging into one another. As you zoom out, I can fade the opacity of each of these parent objects, or basically set it so each parent object, it does like a for loop, blah, 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 sets the opacity down and then replaces it with an overarching image that will basically showcase the overview of the different zones connected. If that makes sense. I'm not the best at explaining things. I've got like a kind of mental picture in my head as to how it's going to work. But essentially the TLDR is I'll have multiple different sprites for every single room. I'll align them exactly in a set position under individual parent objects. So I've got the forest, let's say, the forest game object, and underneath that is going to be all the different rooms within the forest. And the same for like the cave zone. We'll have all the different child, all the different map components locked in there. I can move them around, and then if I want to zoom out, I'll basically say everything within this, fade them out, and then render a separate game object which is listed within the child as well, instead, to kind of link it all together. So there's going to be a lot to it. There's going to be an awful lot to it, but I don't think it's going to be too tricky. But as I said, I am setting aside kind of a good 2 weeks to try and figure that out. Just because I don't trust myself. I think there's going to be a lot of trial and error involved, let's put it that way. There's going to be an awful lot of bugs. There's going to be... Another thing I also want is I'm going to be setting up a thing. Do I have it here anywhere? Maybe underneath one of the tile maps, maybe? Campsite? No. Decor? Yes. Here we go. Where are we? Here we are. I want these little maps that are going to be around the place as well. So instead of maybe going into an NPC, it could be that you come up to one of these, you interact with the map, and then it adds a little bit of the detail about the immediate vicinity. It could show you where these caves are. And to answer your question, Black Terran, no, I'm not going to showcase where the secret rooms are. Once you discover the secret rooms, they'll be added separately. But I'm not going to be indicating where they are on the actual map. The first one, so for example, this first one that we've got here, which is essentially the secret room tutorial, basically showcasing that there are secret rooms. I will probably show this one on the map as an already completed one, because it'll be there to kind of show you that if you look, things will update, blah blah blah. But for the most part, as far as the map is concerned, if I go back onto this, the map itself will probably look like this, and what if you go into this area, it will then render it. And let's say, for example, I've got another room which is up here. Maybe it connects and you can connect through from at the top. So in this one, it'd be a case of you get to the top here and maybe there's a destroyable wall here. So you bash through that and you go through and you can fast track to the next area. Because this is, at the end of the day, all this is like the tutorial area. For some veteran players, you might want it such that you can just kind of skip past it. Because there'll be a lot of stuff that, like teaching you pogo, that kind of stuff, the core mechanics of the game. Bless you, by the way. Having it such that you can skip through this, but only if you know that it's there. So this will ultimately still connect to everything else. Maybe like search. So I'll have a room here. This will then drop down there. Let's say, hypothetically, just drawing some random bits. This is the tutorial area, but then this takes you onto the main city. So let's say the main city's kind of like main city's going to be like here, right? You can go through, do the whole thing. You're not going to see any of this. None of this is going to be visible to you. Like search. So the map will essentially look like this. But if you do find the secret area, it will then update and show you that. You know? So I think that's how I'm going to go about doing it. I think that's the way. That's the way the cookie shall crumble. And yeah, so we'll have the skill point. Hidden rooms are going to be a separate thing altogether, which makes me think, actually, maybe I should just have them look like this, maybe? Should it just indicate like that? I don't know. Maybe it should. Maybe that should be what happens. For now, I'll leave it like this, though. Or maybe even, to be fair, just have this as more of an off. Or in fact, this should be more like that, shouldn't it? Like this. A bit darker than that. Yeah, we could set it to like this, so it's still slightly different, but you can see that it's kind of hidden away. That could be a good option. That could be a good option. Because the entrance is there, and there'll be an entrance here as well. Maybe we set it like that, you know? Lots of options. Lots of options. Where did my stuff go? There it is. There it is. So yeah, what else would we potentially need here? So we've got skill points, player, hidden rooms, player bounds, NPCs. Not as relevant right now when we're thinking about the context of level design. What else could we do? Tell you what, I'm just gonna do a quick little be right back. I'm gonna go give the dinner a little bit of a mix. I'll be back in 2 seconds. And while I'm doing that, I'll have a little think about what else I want to include in this key. And if you've got any suggestions, leave them in the chat. What else should I include in this kind of little indicator as to what needs to go where? I'll be back in 2 minutes. And we're back. And we are back. So food is looking and tasting bloody gorgeous is what it is. I'm very excited to be eating that later. It's got another hour and a half left on it, I reckon. I'm making a beef stew. It's absolutely falling apart for me. It looks... Oh, it's so good. But if we give it another hour, it should be tender as all living hell, which is exactly what we want. This needs to go up one, doesn't it? There we go. There we go. That looks a bit better. So we've got this. I was having a little think. I couldn't think of anything else that really needs to be going there, to be perfectly honest. Starting player. There'll be certain obstacles and things like that, but for the most part, I don't think... that's a lie. There is one very big thing that needs to be put there. In fact, what I will do is I'll actually change the color of the skill point such that it's like a nice little dark green. Do you know what does need to go there? I can't believe I missed out. As soon as I put this down, you're gonna be like, of course. Boss! Where the bosses are gonna go. Now that's an important part of a Metroidvania. That is a very important part. Add boss fights. Exactly. And abilities is the skill points, because yeah, in Amber's Tale, you don't collect abilities in a specific order. No. Once you beat a boss or at certain different intervals, you're gonna get to choose the abilities you want. You'll unlock an ability point, and then you'll come along and bada bing bada boom, you'll be looking at this ability tree. So if I just reset that real quick, I'm going to show you kind of what it'll look like firsthand. I need to set a proper way to actually undo these. I haven't got it set up. What about point for NPC? I was thinking about that. But from a gameplay standpoint, I don't think that's as important right now. Like, there are lore implications, and you know what? No, you're right. I'm going to put it in. You are right. I don't know why I'm trying to justify why this should be in there. Whether or not I'm going to be plotting them now doesn't make a difference. NPCs. You are right. So let's put that in. NPCs. There we go. If you're trying to add warp points, of course. That's very important. And villages, like certain encampments, things like that. I mean, I guess that can technically come under warp points. We can just name the warp point that said thing. Warp point. See, this is why streaming is great. I'm making the game, but you're doing all the work. It's great. Save points. Yeah. You are right. I mean, I guess in a way, certain warp points are going to be... No, they're going to be different. That's fine. No. What are the... I need another colour. In fact, no, that needs to be... What colour can we go for save points? Pink? Do we have a pink? For the time being, pink. Maybe yellow. I think yellow's maybe a bit more fitting, right? Yeah, let's go for yellow. Oh, that's a nasty colour. That is a nasty shade of yellow. I mean, this player is pretty orange. You could go for more of a subtle orange. Or maybe because it's warp point. Could we go for a red? Bosses are red. I don't like the colour yellow. Like, unironically, I just don't like the colour yellow. We'll go for a light green for the time being. Nah, because that's going to clash too much. I don't know why I'm being so pedantic over this. Let's go for that. In fact, because you know what? Now, the player is just going to be white as well. There we go. Not what I needed. There we go. In fact, shouldn't I put these on a separate layer as well, actually? Yeah. Let's call this points of interest of a sort. It's not really points of interest, but it is, you know. But the player's going to start there. That's where the player's going to start. I gotta head out. Good chat for a little while. Shop point if there is one. Anyway, see. Yeah, I mean, it's, technically the shops are going to be NPC, so I'll leave it at that. But thank you so much for joining, Black Karen. It's been really nice seeing you, and I hope to see you around a bit more often. It's been really nice chatting. Oh my god, there's more than 2 squares. I know! There's more than 2 squares. We've got like a bunch of squares. I'm not going to lie to you. I kind of just drew these randomly. This is probably going to get deleted again, and we're going to be back to the 2 squares again. I just kind of drew these up randomly as a kind of a proof of concept. But we do have a key. We do have a key. So there is that. That's something to be proud of, if nothing else. I was very confused for a second. I had some Pepsi Cherry in this earlier, and I've just topped it up with Pepsi Lime, but I was still expecting cherry. That was a very strange drinking experience for me right now. Though I do like it. I do like me some Pepsi Lime. But yeah, we've got a key going. So we've got warp points as well. And if that's the case, let's just make that. Let's just make that orange. Because orange is nice. Maybe a slightly brighter orange. There we go. Okay. So, let's jump straight back into this. And unfortunately... delete all this. Oops. Because there is one thing that I do very specifically want to focus on. And the player starts here. Can anyone guess what the most important thing I need to focus on right now is? When it comes to the creation of the map. The player starts here and they're going to be moving right. What do we need to do? Keeping the highest quality boxes. Exactly. Exactly. But we're going to be working on the left-hand side. There's going to be a little bit of a loop here. Nothing massive, but there is going to be something to the left. Because it is ultimately going to lead to a different zone later on down the line. Maybe it starts up here. The secret left part. Exactly. Exactly. So you know the first thing we've got to do, come along, make this little section here, and we've got to fill it in. Fill that in grey. Because that is the left part in a Metroidvania. Exactly. Chan, room on left, room on left. Exactly. It's a prerequisite for Metroidvanias. It's a must-have. You must have a secret room. You must. It's obligatory. Any Metroidvania that does not have a secret room to the left-hand side, I would argue, is not even a true Metroidvania. So technically speaking, my game isn't yet a true Metroidvania, but we are going to make it. We are going to make it. And one of the features of Amber's Tale currently, we jump into the first scene, which is down here. So the player's going to start here. They're going to wake up. We do see this area up here. This isn't going to be here. This is temporary. There is going to be a way for you to jump up here later on once you unlock the wall jump, if you want to do that. This might be the area that the wall jump unlocks. Or to get back to, let's say. But I want it such that the player can walk left. There'll be some kind of area round here somewhere. It won't be massive. There'll be some little upgrades. There might be an NPC, something like that. But ultimately, you'll end up jumping out a little bit higher up here. So you'll enter here and you'll exit up here and just fall down and be able to continue on with your journey. There is an argument to be made that maybe I stick a bit of a challenge here straight away. Maybe I have a little pogoing obstacle. I've got a bunch of spikes. You walk through, you see it, and you're like, spikes! That could be interesting. So a beginner player is going to be like, I can't go here. But if you've played a Metroidvania before, you'll know that you'll be able to do a little pogo over that. And unlock some secret stuff right at the beginning of the game if you want to. I'm not 100% sure how I want to pull that off, but secret room. Secret room is exactly how that will work out. So I'd say there's an argument to me that this needs to be like this. If I just select this, there we go. We'll do a little cheeky boom boom, like such. I feel like I should indicate where rooms end. So where you can actually enter and exit different rooms, if that makes sense. So if I do a little like that and like that, does that make sense? Makes sense to things? As a little door, essentially indicating where you can enter and exit different spaces. Because, I mean, I guess technically this is going to be a bit like this, maybe. You'll drop down. Like such. So maybe this needs to be a separate room altogether. And you can unlock it all. Because one thing I have... I'm not limited by room size anymore. One thing I can actually probably show you here... is I've adjusted all different sprites, so I can pretty much make rooms of any size, and you'll see that only what's around the player is being rendered. Like that. That's pretty cool, isn't it? We come along, we're jumping down, and you can see things are being rendered and unrendered around the player at certain intervals. So, I'm not restricted by how big I want the rooms to be. I could have the rooms be pretty big, and they'll still remain reasonably performant because, yeah, it's not going to be rendering everything at once. Which we like. We like that. Maybe put some coins or something there, beginners too, so they don't get nothing for... Ooh, hello. Yes, for sure. We kind of... Because what Hollow Knight essentially do is they just have a tiny little room here, some additional coins that you can pick up, and then once you've unlocked the wall jump, you can jump up like that. I want it to be slightly different. I want a bit more of an explore. I want you to be able to explore a little bit of an area here. But ultimately, the wall jump is going to allow you to access somewhere within this, maybe. Potentially even. So maybe we do lock this bit off here. Maybe this is all encapsulated. But once you've unlocked the wall jump, you're going to be able to explore a little place up here. And that's going to be where you take it. So even if you unlock the wall jump, even if you don't unlock the wall jump, you've still got something you can explore, but it'll foreshadow the fact that you can explore somewhere else once you've unlocked a certain ability. You know? Are you going to make different weapons? Yes! Yes, I am. I've already got the base of that set up there. So we've got within the skill tree, you've got kind of essential upgrades, which will allow certain aspects of exploration, which is these three for the time being. There will be more. There's going to be the likes of the double jump and all that I'll be placing in and around within the skill tree at some point. But the first three are essentially mandatory upgrades that you will have to get throughout the course of the game. But sprouting from them are their abilities and weapons that you can choose whether you want to use or not. So the Send Forth is essentially just, it's going to be a super awesome ability. I don't want to go into too many details because I've got some really cool ideas as to what this can look like. But think along the lines of the first ability you get in Hollow Knight. I forget what it's called. The Pew Pew sensor thing. Think along those lines, but pretty damn epic. It's going to be a really impactful ability, and it's going to look awesome because we've got the whole nature celestial vibes going on, so I'm going to really tie that together. But from each of these points, you'll be able to unlock a certain ability and weapon for the most part. This one's going to be daggers, so you'll be able to play around with like there'll be a few different combos. There'll be very short range, faster attacks, so you'll be able to mess around with that. Down here, we've got the spear, so it'll be more methodical, longer range, and you'll be able to reach a lot more, do some different combos. There might be some kind of CC involved as you do kind of use them. And then over here, we've got the hammer, so it's going to be a very slow wind up, but very impactful. It'll knock back enemies and things like that. There's potentially an option for me to make it such that if you do unlock multiple of these, you can maybe combo them together. So maybe you could set it so your first swing is with the hammer, so you do a big knockback, and then it'll automatically switch to the spear. So once you've knocked them back, you'll do a long-range spear attack. For example, you can maybe create your own combos. I think that would be a pretty cool mechanic to go for. Creating your own combos with different celestial weapon types, because they're not going to be physical weapons. They're going to be created from your celestial abilities, in essence. Once you've actually been taught how to use them. And again, one of the great things about this is because they're a certain weapon type, you're going to have different upgrades available to them. So the spear, maybe once you unlock the spear, you'll have two different ways of using it. There'll be one of a more defensive stance where you just kind of jab, and you can set up those combos, but there might be one where it's a bit more decadent. You're spinning around and you're doing all these like artistic martial arts kind of things. That could be pretty cool. So you'll be able to customize the way the weapon functions as well, and the type of damage it does, those kind of things, which I think would be pretty cool. And of course, you'll unlock them through the general progression of the tree. And yeah, so we'll upgrade these 3 for now, just so I've got my dash, my slam, and of course the wall jump available to us. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that a beautiful Metroidvania? The shockwave looks really nice. How did you implement it? It was so hard. No, joking aside, setting up and figuring out shaders generally, but also figuring out how to make the shockwave in particular, I'm ashamed to admit it. I think it genuinely took me about 2 months. Not 2 months, a month. 2 weeks to a month to actually figure out. Because instead of like slowly transitioning into setting up shaders, I was just like, yeah, let's go straight into the shockwave. And it didn't help that the way I had layers set up and all that kind of stuff in my old demo did not help whatsoever. It actually made the whole process a lot harder. But I can show you. So I do believe it's under damaged, potentially. Damage script. Damaged. So if I open this up, instantiate the shockwave. Here we are. In fact, let's search for it here. There we go. So we've got a shockwave. It's basically just a prefab. I can drag and drop it into the thing, and it is a shader with multiple different things. So the focal point is essentially where the shockwave relative to the actual object is. So the object itself is this square. So the shockwave will emanate depending on where the focal point is. So if I move the focal point over to 1, the shockwave will emanate from like over here on this side. The size, magnification, and speed. The speed is basically the controller of where the shockwave is, like this. So you can see it kind of rippling around as I increase that. And I have this script here, which essentially just adjusts this over time. And then once it reaches, so I've got it set so it starts at 0, applies like delta time to it, and then once it hits like 0.9 or something, it deletes the shader itself. So that'll just disappear. So there's that. That's why the lights keep disappearing. You've just helped me solve something. You can see when the shader is over here, the lights disappear. Okay, that's why I was wondering why my lights were turning off and on randomly. Whenever like I was dealing damage and killing something, it would send a shockwave, which is deactivating the lights. Look at that. So if I set this to 1, no. So I need to set this off bloom. If I set this to default, it's going to break everything. Awesome. Mid-ground front, that overlays all of that. I think I need to get a separate sorting layer. Let's add a new sorting layer. We will add this in front, behind the bloom. We'll call this shockwave. So if I now come into the shockwave and we'll set this to shockwave. There we go, all the lights work. And does the shockwave effect itself still work? No. No, it does not. Maybe this needs to go in front of bloom then. We can set that to 0 now. Oh dear, why does that not work now? I'm set on the same level as player. But when I set it onto bloom, it does work. Shaders confuse me, man. Shaders confuse me. Noob Doctor, hello. How are you doing? How are things? You have joined at a very pivotal time. I messed something up and I can't figure out how to fix it. Love that. Welcome to game development. Welcome to game development, everybody. The shockwave's there. It's not showing properly. So that's 0. Backgrounds. Makes it destroy everything there. The bloom. works for some reason or other, then shockwave. I can't stick around. I wanted to say I've been following this for a while and I wish you all the best in dev. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you dropping in. That's super awesome. That's so kind of you. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna be starting to do a lot more of these streams going forward, so it'd be lovely to catch you again, have a proper chat at some point. Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming. Really, really appreciate you. Thank you. Shaders are hard. Yeah, shaders are hard. Do you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna set it back to what it was, which is working. Oh, in fact, no, actually, can I like hack this ever so slightly? Right, you ready for this? Are we ready? If I just make it such that... Oh, it's not even on bloom. Oh, we deactivate the shockwave. Right. You hear me? Right, let's get rid of that. Is this lamp? Yeah. So now, if I move the shockwave... No, it still doesn't work. Git restore. Nah, like this is... I could just... This is essentially what it was anyway. It's not really that big of a deal. Why is that? That's just confusing me. I actually just don't know why that's working. That's on the midground layer. It's only showing on the midground, back, and default. Does this show on default at all? No, but it is on the default layer. If I set this to the ground layer, then it... Okay, that's there. Shaders there. That just looks cool. Look at that. That looks pretty cool. Shaders are hard, but they are groovy. The things you can do with them, they're pretty cool. Then it just doesn't work when it's inside. That's so weird. If we turn the light off, that is working like that, but the shader just stops it from being viewable. Set that to blue. Oh, I mean, that's technically working. Alright, so turning the light to bloom does fix the problem. That's now showing on both. So if I just, if I come along and I just set that to modify component and apply to all prefab lights. Alright. I don't know why. That fixes the issue. We're going to stick with that. We're going to stick with it. It's no longer a problem I need to concern myself with. Unless setting it to the bloom layer also screws up the lighting itself. We're about to find out. No, that looks fine. Cool. Game Dev 101. Just go for it. Like, check maybe your camera's on. I did. It's I don't know why. Because, right, the shockwave, it works when it's on bloom. It works. Perfectly fine. We'll just set it so we can actually see the shockwave. So set to 1. There we go. It works when it's on bloom. I set it to shockwave, and now the shockwave is working. That didn't work before, did it? Right, I'm not going crazy. When I set it to shockwave earlier, that didn't work. Am I going crazy? So now if I set these back to not be on bloom, but yeah, that stops it from working. Because the lights are not rendered anymore. This works. This'll do. I mean, this works. I don't know why this works, but it works. So I'm not going to touch it anymore. I'm scared. Yep. I have no idea why this is the case. None. We'll apply that to prefab. We'll come along. We'll set this in on the lights. The lights, that is all fine. All been changed. It works. We'll just leave it at that. Sorted. So now if I come along, run the game, and just go kill something, it shouldn't screw it over, right? Let's come along. So the lights are all working. Once I kill this enemy, it'll send out shockwave. It sends out the shockwave, doesn't affect the lights. weird. I'm not going to complain. I meant the sorting layer texture, but I guess this works as well. Yeah, I'm not even gonna bother. Like, it works. I'm too scared to go back and change anything else. Yeah, I have no idea. Okay, so let's come along. Let's have a look at this level design stuff again. So, one thing that some people have been wanting me to do is essentially showcase my workflow for actually creating new levels. So, for the time being, we'll get rid of this. I think, again, as I said on the last stream, I need to do a little bit of brainstorming as to how I want to kind of lay things out. But what I can do is I can showcase, because one thing I do know for sure, is there's going to be a room that links up here. So I'll make sure on zone 1, there's going to be some kind of room here that you can link to from this shortcut here. But we'll also link from up here from another room that's like there, let's say. Okay, this is definitely happening. So you'll be able to come into the room there and there, and this is where you come in there, this is where you come in there. Cool. This is 100% going to be the case. There might be a way from here to kind of come around this way. And let's say there's a room, another long room, might link at the end and become vertical, potentially. Doesn't necessarily have to be different, I guess. So this will come along, be a long room like such. Let's say it's a bit longer than that. And this will turn into a vertical one. I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be separate, does it? Let's put that like that, for example. So this will be one room. So you'll come along, you'll be walking, you'll jump up. If you know the shortcut is there, you can come along and skip straight into this room. If not, you'll follow the natural curve of this, which is laid out kind of like so, isn't it? It's kind of like that, with a bit of a platform here. That's kind of how you'll jump up. You'll jump up here. You'll jump up over, and then you'll come into the room here. 1, 2, 3. You'll follow around. There might be another little room that comes off here, something or other. Like that can all be sorted out later. There'll be another room, and it'll ultimately link right back round to this wall here, or to this room here. There we go. So because we know that this room is definitely going to be here, I can showcase how I actually go about making the rooms in Unity themselves, because a lot of people have been asking me how I go about doing that. So let's figure that out together. So I have a template room. Here we are. Let's open this up. We'll save this. Let's open it up. Here. So everything that's here, that doesn't need to be. Environment objects, these should all be empty. Get rid of the fireflies, things like that. What goes in the environment? This is fine. There's no longer... Is there any need for the midground back? Let me have a quick think. Because since I set up this template as well, there's been a few more things that have changed. What's this? Oh yeah, that's the map. Let's set up. Let's just leave that there for the time being. So how do we want to set this up? So essentially what's going on here is we've got... can I just do it like do new? Don't save. There we go. There we go. We have different layers, right? So we've got the main layer here, which is where the player is. So the player stands here. So this is like the camera's here, kind of looking this way, right? So this is the perspective. So we've got the player, which is on this layer here. Whee! This is where all the ground is going to be showcased, which is essentially just this stuff here. Literally just this layer, what you can actually collide with and what you actually engage with. Now, related to that, you've got a foreground layer, which is here. which essentially has all the bushes and things like that on it, right? Which is these layers, which goes just in front, and that's the foreground. Also in the foreground, which is the same, which is the mid-front. Okay, cool. So we've got the mid. We have mid, front, which is all the foreground asset. Okay. What else do we have after that? So we've got the likes of the background here, which is showcasing on the objects in... Okay, let's collapse all this down. Foreground. So we've got the objects, that doesn't need to be there. Okay, so we've got the foreground, the ground itself, certain platforms which are just certain movable objects. There's a reason for that. This I can definitely move somewhere else, but the likes of this, which you can see where I've got the actual dock, there's a reason I have to have a separate thing for platforms. That's kind of an irrelevant one. That's a very niche case. That's something I'll add in generally depending on the build or depending on the room. Most of them won't have these kind of things, so that's fine. The foreground, which is all the assets there, which, thinking out loud, this and the mid-ground front, which is all the bushes and that kind of stuff, they can both be condensed together. Because all the foreground is mid-ground front assets that have basically been set to a color of 0. So, like, for example, I could take this rock here, I can set it to black, and this can now be used as a foreground asset. If I then just increase the order layer, you know? Like so. So, with that being the only difference, there's no need to have one set layer for foreground and one for mid-front. Because I could just condense that into this. And then just have the true foreground assets kind of near the top, like that, and it does the same job, because then we don't actually even need the foreground, because this can just be on mid-ground and it will still render exactly the same. It makes no difference whatsoever. That goes on mid-ground back, or no, sorry, mid-ground front. That's what I wanted. Oh no, this thing that can go on mid-ground front, showcase on the mid-ground, and it will function identically to any of these which are currently on the foreground layer. So it's kind of like a use case that doesn't need to be there. Yeah, you can see it's still in the foreground, like so. Player goes behind it. It's fine. It looks a bit different because I think the fog has been updated now, hasn't it? Because there was a fog. Was there a thing in there? Fog is in background close. Let me check where the fog is. Got this other fog which is currently in background far, background close, mid-ground front, mid-ground far, mid-ground front. So this should actually be on like layer 100. If I increase that up, that'll show in front of everything here then, right? Oh no, it's still looking a bit darker. Oh, that's so peculiar. Why is that the case? Oh, is that going to mess up the layering issues as well with the shockwave? No, the shockwave still works. Okay. Why does this suddenly look different? That's crazy. Why is that? Oh, wait a second. Oh, the god rays not showing properly. Yeah, there's no god rays. They're showing behind things. Where are the god rays? This thing. God rays are showing on what layer? Background close? They do need to show behind things, but at least like 10. They should show in front of some bits. We'll just give this a play and we'll give this a test, see what happens. God rays. We've gone back. Okay, we can see them there. I feel like I'm missing a fog layer. Fog layer that went in front of these trees, right? Shockwave. Move down front. So if I do that, this is... Let me just increase this so I can see what it's actually doing. That's still showing in front of everything else. That's fine. Yeah, it's got to be some kind of mid-ground... That's so peculiar. Why is that the case? Let's just deactivate this for the time being. It's got to be some kind of fog. What type of game is this? This is a Metroidvania that we are making in Unity. Yeah, platforming Metroidvania. But we're trying to figure out why it looks so different. Because we had a thing. Midground or foreground. Ah, midground. No, this is what I just changed, isn't it? Midground front. If I just increase the opacity of this, does that change? Ah. So that's what's making the effect happen, but why is that happening? Does this need to go onto midground close? Ah, there we go. If I bring that back, because that should add a bit of a saturation. Okay. If I play this now, this should work the way I want it to, right? There we go. That looks close to what it's meant to be. When did I adjust that? I could have sworn I adjusted that to fix it. Crazy. We'll re-enable that again. Let's go back into... Let's open scene 1 real quick, just so I can copy the settings I had for that fog. So it's this one that I needed. Scene 1 has it like this, which is on basically 0.2. Big macro close. So it's there. Clear that. Okay. Heyo! You lot still going? Yes, we are, someone. There we go. That looks like it's what it's meant to look like. There we go. Oh, all that just so I can get the foreground assets here. Okay. All of that hard work. Welcome to game dev. You break one thing accidentally and then you need to spend 10 minutes fixing that thing and not realizing why it is. Story of my life. Hang on, you're actually making progress. Are you sitting down? Are you sitting down? Are you ready? We have more than 2 boxes. And we have a key. I know. It's crazy. But this is where we're at. Yo, exactly. We have made some progress. Today. And we imported a map in here. It does nothing. It's purely aesthetic, but the map exists. We also plotted out how we're actually going to make things work. But as I was saying, so we've got the midground front, which is also / foreground. Which is also the foreground. So we can condense those together. So when we come into this, if we go into the template scene again, so we'll save that. Come into the template scene. These. What's within this? Objects. This can just go within the midground front. It can stay on midground front. So this all needs to be set to midground. Midground like that. Yes, change all the children. All right, so we've got the actual bushes and that kind of stuff and rocks that'll show on the midground, and then we've got the foreground, which is all going to encompass the midground itself because we don't need that. Which then actually means we can get rid of that layer because it is irrelevant. That's going to break a bunch of stuff, isn't it? No? If I come into this, midground front, foreground. Let's change this to midground as well. Yes, change all the children. And then within all this, all these are mid-ground front, set to 1000, colored as black. These should all still show as... These should all show as foreground objects without needing a start separate layer now. Nice. Happy days. There was one up here, wasn't there, on this platform? There we are. Nice. It all shows. It all works. Nice. Just what we want to see. Lovely. Okay, so now we can go back into the template scene. We'll save that. In fact, no, before we do, let me just update and fix it in the first scene as well. Environment. Foreground goes within this. Foregrounds gets set to midgrounds. Change all the children. Yes. And then we'll come along. Grid and talent. The grid doesn't actually need to be there. This was here as a way to kind of manage it, but because of the way I've got the lighting set up, that's an irrelevant step now. Which means technically all of these don't need to be encompassed within that. They can all just go there. I can get rid of this, and then all of these get set to mid-ground front, mid-ground. We'll set them all to black. That should be it. Wait, this is 5 times more than the previous time. This is infinitely more than the previous time. And we can see, yeah, all those foreground assets down at the bottom here. So all these ones down here that you can see and kind of up there, they are all still rendering in front of everything else. We have essentially just saved an entire step. Yep, and they still have the parallax thing going on. Very nice, very nice. Lovely. That is a whole step completed now. Oh, I should have just dashed. That works. Then we transition to the next scene. Boom. Lovely. We're even in front of this. Look at that. We can destroy these bushes. Ain't that tidy? And we've of course got the little cave here. Ooh, hey, look at that. All right, we've made some progress today. That's crazy. Save all that. All right, so now when we're in the template scene, the midground front, that is any foliage and the actual foreground asset, which is all the dark black ones that will be moving with foreground parallax. Then that's that there. The midground back. What have we currently got on this? Lamps, foliage. So I feel like the midground back is essentially just interactable objects that are not the ground. So in theory, if I just set this as just midground, right, I can encompass the ground within that, right? So we've got the ground. Let's get the tile palette going in. Ground. Pardon me. No, it's not this one. Rule tiles. There we go. So I can now kind of just place these anywhere. The reason that's not working and that's still showing us black is because where we've got the lighting volume thing. Okay, so we need to add the lighting in so we can have that work properly. So that's under setup, prefabs, setup, camera is fine, lights, this is what we need, the different components under lighting. So we'll create a prefab and we'll call this lighting. Then we need these lighting features, there we are, and they get parented there. So we've got the midground, the background close, and the background far. These are all set up fine, I think. And then we can come along in here, edit the shape, and we basically just set these to whatever needs to be done. Beautiful. Happy days. So we can see that. We can adjust those later. And essentially, for those of watching that haven't seen the devlog, essentially all that does is this. So we've got the set, it's under setup, lights, foreground light. You can see here, I basically just outline everything and it adds that shadow. So instead of having to add that shadow directly onto every single sprite, so what most games would do is they'd come along and say this bush here, they'd actually have to edit the bush so that it gets darker itself, and then they can place it wherever. Because I'm doing it through the lighting, I don't have to do that. I can just have the sprites be whatever they want, anything at all, and it will automatically always fade out anyway, because of the way the lighting's set up. So that makes life a lot easier. Mate, frankly, the game looks brilliant, like astonishing, awe-inspiring. Every positive word there is to say. Thank you so much. Yeah, I must say, I'm really happy with how it's coming along. I am really happy with what's going on. Hang on, I haven't watched the devlogs. You haven't watched the devlog? Oh, what are you doing? No, you're here. To be fair, the devlogs, I feel like you'd probably find out more about the game just by watching the live streams now than the actual devlogs. Because they are much, they're very concentrated. They take so long to edit though, which is why it's been a bit tricky getting them actually out. But yeah, I mean, the next devlog is essentially going to be me showcasing this stuff. Showcasing like the fact that I've got the different layers, how it's set up, and that kind of stuff. So you're technically getting the devlog epilogue right now, because this is basically what I'm going to be showcasing in the next one. How I set it all up, the thought process behind everything, and what I've done for the past month. So yeah. With that in mind, so we've got the lighting set up. That's fine. Platforms is its own thing. I technically don't need those right now, so that's fine. I can plug them in whenever I need to, depending on the situation. So we've got the mid-ground front, or I can just call this actually the foreground, because that's what it is. That's the bushes that are in the foreground. We have the mid-ground, which is the ground that you actually walk on, and any decorative things that you can interact with. So doors, boxes, that kind of stuff. But they actually go in objects. So for the most part, it's actually just the ground that goes in there, and any lamps, I guess. But I guess there's an argument to say that objects could go in there, but no, because they're just interactable, so they'll just go in interactable here. So the mid-ground is essentially just the ground layer, in essence. Yeah. Do I need anything else in there? The grass layer as well, which is fine, because they're both here. Yeah, I don't think I actually need anything else, so I can actually delete both of these. Because any objects like your lamps and such are going to go in the objects folder anyway. Sorry, mate, I really focus on the other stuff in my life, you know. I've been away from the game dev as well. Nah, I was only messing around with you, don't worry. Like, there is no expectation that you have to watch my stuff at all. Honestly, the fact you're here just means so much, especially with everything that's going on. I don't blame you at all. I did miss you being about. I did miss you being about. The Discord was definitely a lot emptier while you were gone, I must say. That's my own fault. I definitely should be doing more to engage. But yeah, again, that's something that's in the works. I'm going to be setting up different things for the Discord, because I definitely want a bit more engagement in there with the game dev stuff that's going on. But yeah, so we've got all this stuff here. We've got the mid-ground close and the mid-ground back. We don't need the mid-ground mid anymore. I've actually disregarded that step now. So we'll have a fog, we'll have god rays, trees, foliage, and trees back. So we've got multiple sets of like trees, which is fine. And then the mid-ground background far is the actual background, which also has another set of trees in it. So that needs to go there. Background sprites. Such, they go there. And the background sprites, these are basically just the actual flat background. Things that is the cut-off, essentially, the furthest back possible things that there are, which in this case is in the context of the game is essentially just this picture. That just shows us the extreme cutoff on the background. So that's fine. Those can go there for the time being. We've got the trees. One layer of trees that goes in the background. We'll set that to background far. Got the offset distribution, the color changer on there. That's fine. The fog, which is what it is. In fact, I probably should load that up and just set those so they're the same fog. So in scene 2, we've got this. So we'll just add that in, and that's the background close, and the background far fog is that. Then background close is this, and background far is this. There we go. And we'll delete this. Remove scene. Cool. Got the different objects, different enemies that go in there. That's fine. Background sites, we've got trees. There's no additional foliage that goes in the actual background itself, so that's fine. It's just the fog, the trees, and the background itself. That's good to go. And then we can add any ad hoc stuff in there if needs be. But these are the 3 that'll definitely be in there in most scenes anyway, for the most part. Again, I can just change the names of things. That's all good. In fact, let me just check the reference on this scene as well. Just to check the Z distributions of certain things. So we've got the background far, which is at 3. Background far is at 3. Yeah, that's good. Background far, the fog is set to 0. Set to 0. That's good. The trees is set to -1. Trees is set to -1. In scene 2, the background far, we have the sprites, which is set to 0. Sprites, which is set to 0. So that's all good. In the background mid, or background close, I should say, we've got the foreground, which is showing at -0.4. Wait, we go for it. Oh, I need to open this one. Into background close, we've got the fog, which is at the fog in scene 2 is at -2. Yeah. God rays are at -1. They're at -1. That's fine. Foliage is at 0. And they're all distributed randomly as that's fine. Foliage. Trees. Oh, we do have separate ones here, so we've got the trees. In front. Oh, they're just distributed randomly anyway, aren't they, actually? Yeah, I don't need the multiple sets of trees. I don't need these back. So just trees set to that. And they can just be randomly distributed throughout and mixed in with the different foliage, so that's fine. So I mean, I guess this technically doesn't need to be anything. So if the foliage is 0, the tree should also be set to 0, yeah. Because we can distribute those as we like here. Yeah, I think that's fine. So then we're looking at the mid-ground layer, so we've got the foreground, which is now within mid-ground. No, that's a lie. We've got the mid-ground front. Yeah, so this is what we've now called the foreground. Spelt correctly. Foreground. Spelt correctly, he says. Foreground. Foreground. There we go. And that's the true foreground. Black assets. And then anything else that's just in the foreground generally, which is fine. Or do we call this true foreground even? True foreground. There we go. Because that's the stuff that's right at the very front, which will have that extreme parallax set on. So then we call this the true foreground. Like that. There we go. True foreground, true foreground. Then we've got the foliage within that. And then these are ad hoc stuff. So foliage is at 0. This is at 0. Good. And then the midground is just the ground class, which is fine. And that's it. So these are the 4 different layers. We've got the foreground, midground, background close, background far. And that is all we need for pretty much every single layer. Yeah, so that is essentially, we've got the foreground, which includes the foregrounds, so we've got the true foreground / foreground. We've got the midground, and then we've got the background close, which is where we've got some trees, like such. Got some trees. These are very. You can see why I don't do the art for Amber's Tale. It's got some bushes, like such, bits and bobs, and all of the key thing about this is it's got some blur on it. This has blur. Da? Picasso. Mwah, exactly. This is phenomenal drawing. And then on the background, the background far. So we've got the background far, like that. We've got another layer of trees, like this, and then we've got the actual background, which is whatever's on there. This is all attached to that though, like so. So this is the final cutoff. So you've got, when you look at the camera, so you've got the camera here, like that. We're using a perspective camera, so it's looking at this. You see the foreground, you then see the midground, background close, background far. This also has more blur, because, you know, it's really far away. Blur. And that should be that. Happy days. That's essentially the way we're going to be layering things. This all seems okay. The player, that's fine. Game manager, that's fine. The pause menu. This actually now goes in the... This now goes in canvases, which is here. So these are the same thing. So we've got, if we open that, we open the canvas, got the pause menu. Pause menu. So this goes in canvases. That's cool. Let's just get everything compared. We've got the player, game manager, proximity manager. Yep, we need that. So let's add this into this. Tools, proximity manager. There it is. There we are. So that's added in. So that should be fine. And the proximity manager in this case is the thing that basically allows us to render what's close to the player and not. So that ends up being a lot better. A lot better. Close that down. So we've got the cameras and triggers. So this needs to be unpacked, because these can be shoved in anywhere. So we've got the camera manager, because this needs to be edited a lot, essentially. The follow object, which is down at the bottom. Camera and focus targets, which I don't really think we need, because we've got the triggers, we've got the boundaries. I mean, we'll keep it in. I mean, we'll just keep, like... Yeah, we'll keep that in for the time being. We can delete it if needs be. Triggers... We don't need one of those in there, because that we have here anyway, right? Camera control trigger. Yeah, so we can just drop those in anywhere. Swap cameras and adjust that as needs be. So that's fine. But the camera triggers will live in there. The camera bounds hidden room. I mean, what I will do here is I will save these as prefabs. Because that'll essentially, yeah, that's like that. And where is that in association? Yep, so that's fine. And the main area. So I will save these as prefabs, but they're not as necessary. So we've got components. Oh, is that just the camera room bound? Oh, we've got one anyway. Yeah, okay, we don't need to save those. So we'll get rid of the hidden room for the time being. Main room. In fact, the main room can stay, just because essentially all we do in this case is if we want to add a new room trigger, we literally come in, you drag and drop a camera room bound in, we drag it in, and then we'd unpack it anyway, just so we can edit it custom for the room that we're looking at or we're working on at the time being. So that's fine. Camera manager. This is what we need to look at now. So for the main camera, so I need different camera types. What is in this actually? Camera bigger. Okay, that's just the whole camera system, which don't really need that to be there. Got the camera manager, the main camera thingy. Okay, these are all necessary. These all need to be prefabs. So I'll come in here. Let's create a new folder. Not a new scene. Create a new folder. Camera or spinning machine. Camera templates. Okay, and then each of these become prefabs. Because essentially what all these do, these are predetermined Cinemachine camera types that follow a certain functionality. So the camera follow in an open room, or the hidden room, does that need to be anything? No, the only difference with the hidden room, it's essentially just this, but with a different camera bound assigned to it. So that doesn't need to be a thing, because this is essentially just the same as this anyway, just with a different camera attached to it. So that's fine. Tight corridors is essentially, there's no why, it's a camera follow. So we've got the camera. So this basically allows the camera to freely follow the player anywhere, and it will follow this game object, which essentially has some offsets assigned to it. So it'll freely follow the player, but the offset is always set so it's in front of player and smoothly transitions around there. So this will always follow that object. The tight corridors will do exactly the same. However, it will not take into consideration any Y value changes. So if the player jumps, the camera won't jump with it. So if we've got some long narrow corridors with some ups and downs, but we want the camera to stay completely locked on the Y-axis, we can switch to use this camera instead. And then the locked position camera is, say for example, for a boss room where we don't want the camera to be moving at all while the player is engaging. We can just switch to this camera, have it set on a certain position, and it won't follow the player whatsoever, which is cool. So they're the three main types of cameras that we'll need. Don't need that to be called pane, like cam. There we go. Tight corridors. There we go. We've got the three different camera types. We come into the main camera. We've got the UI, background far, background close and sharp. That's correct. The camera itself works. We've got the proximity manager. Cool. So that's camera setup. Post processing. I don't think there's anything that I really need to change here. I'm pretty sure I've kept everything the same there. Lights. Well, let's just be consistent so we can. Lights. We've got a mid, back, and background. Lights here. We have the mid, back, and background, and there's additional ones just for the cave, which is fine. And then the day-night cycle. Yeah, we need to incorporate that in, which is here. So we'll drag that in. It's by default set to dawn, which is exactly what we want. Okay, I think that... Oh, yeah, we need to set the canvases up. So that's the setup sorted. That's the level sorted. Canvases now. So we've got the FPS counter. Close this down. We've got the different canvases. So we've got the event system, which needs to go in. That's so we can sort out all the different control schemes and things like that. That is completely fine. Do we need the fade canvas? Yep. So that's so we can fade between the different rooms. So we've got that darkness, which is essentially, yeah, I'll showcase that here. If I load up into this one. It's essentially set up so when you transition to the different rooms, you have that fade out and fade in, which is the fade canvas doing that. Cool. Let's open the template scene again. Close the setup. The FPS counter, not really necessary, but I think it's just a good one to have in. You can just deactivate that by default because we don't need that to be active. But if we want to be looking at the FPS while we're testing certain things, that's a good thing to have. And then the pause menu and feature menu. We've got the pause menu here. And then where is the feature menu? Here it is. And these are the two different menus, UI menus that we've got. So the pause menu, which is where you can actually exit, change your options, that kind of stuff. And the feature menu, which is anything relating to the game itself that needs a UI menu-wise. So it's the equivalent in Hollow Knight where you can pull up your charms, you can check the map. And in Amber's Tale, it's going to be for things like the skill tree, the map, achievements, your inventory, all that will show under the feature menu. Whereas the actual gameplay changing things like exiting the game, resuming, pausing, that's all in the pause menu. So it's two separate UI instances. And these are mutually exclusive. Only one can ever be open at a time. So you either have the pause menu or the feature menu open, which is cool. And I think for a template scene, that's enough. I think that works for what we need. So what I'm now able to do is I can come along, I can duplicate that. And let's call this Zone 1 Scene 3. Okay? So I unload this and let's open this up additively. Oh, yeah, I need to delete that. From the template scene, let's come along. Lights, I mean, they're fine where they are, but we need to come in and delete the mid-ground, ground, palette. Let's get rid of that. And then we may as well bring these all up to where they need to be up here. So the lights, let's move all of these so they're just in line with everything that we've got over here. Just so all the bits that we have together are all just linked together and we can move it as needs be. Okay, so we'll actually delete that. We'll come along, we'll duplicate this again. Zone 1, Scene 3. Beautiful. We'll open this one additively. We're going to close down the template scene because we don't need that anymore. And we're going to open up Zone 1, Scene 2. Cool. Now we're not going to make any changes to Zone 1, Scene 2, but we need it there as a reference as to where everything is. So we'll come along, we'll bring the environment and objects, enemies, bring all that stuff down here, because this is where it's going to be. So if we look at our thing, we said that this is going to, this right here is, or this whole area here is Zone 2, and this one is Zone 3. So it's this one here. So my general workflow for all this kind of stuff is I'm going to come in, and the first thing I'm going to do is just make these a little bit easier to see. None of these moved over, did they? Cool. So I'll move these over with them as well. Which means I have to quickly just come into the template scene really, really quickly. Lights. Oh no, it's fine. That's completely fine actually. Zone 3. Open this one additively. Zone 2. It's fine. Close that. First thing I typically do is I'm going to come in. I'm just going to make all these lights just a little bit bigger, just so I've got room to see, just so I can see what's going on, essentially. So we'll be adjusting all this at a later date just to make it more accurate, but just being able to see what I'm working with, like so, is much easier. Okay, so we'll come along. We'll then, for the most part, we can close the setup. We'll then come along. We'll make the background far. We'll just make all these extend out, just because these are the background. All of this right here. This is the background. I'll just bring it down ever so slightly. I'll do the same with this. So we're gonna have some kind of cave. So from this, there'll be a destructible wall here. We'll knock it down, and you'll go through, and you'll be able to come into the next scene, which will be this. Hello? 5 minutes? Cool. Yeah, so food is ready in 5 minutes. So I'm actually going to dip then. What I'm going to do, I'll do a proper tutorial on this later on. I'll do a bit of a recap next time I'm streaming. I'll do a bit of a recap, go over all this kind of stuff, and yeah, I'll make a dedicated video on actually setting up the next levels, and I'll do so for scene 3. Which will essentially showcase basically everything from literally laying down the ground, setting up the layering for the different things, setting up the lighting. I'll cover everything. But yeah, man's gonna go eat food because I'm hungry, and it's been cooking for about 3 hours. So with that being said, thank you all for joining today. It's been lovely. A bit of a shorter impromptu stream, but here we are. Thank you very much for joining, and I shall catch you next time. Happy game dev.